What's going on, guys? This is Coach JJ. I'm going to talk about your self-defense module. If you go to the website and it says Active Reprogramming, you're like, what is that? Okay, so that has to do with our DRS, our drill ranking system. Active Reprogramming or reflex reprogramming, reflex response, has to do with our reflex response. We're literally trying to reprogram our body to do what it wants it to do. Okay, so we have natural things that are built into us for self-defense, and it's meant to keep us safe. Those are our reflexes. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. Again, it's put there specifically to make us feel safe or to protect us if something were to happen. Classic example of this, I've used this in other videos, is if I were to fall, okay, what's your natural reaction? Post up, put your hand down because you're trying to brace for that fall. Now, that does protect us, but at the same time, if I were to put all that pressure all onto my hand, all right, and all my weight's on there, it's almost like dropping a box on one of its corner. It's going to pop up. It's could damage my elbow, could damage my wrist, could damage my shoulder. It protected me that one time, and it's not necessarily the most optimal thing. So yeah, being able to trust your intuition on certain things is great. Being able to trust yourself on how physics works, those are all great things. But to move off to the other side, we also need to reprogram ourselves to get a little bit better, to be a little more efficient. Okay, so that's where our training comes in. When we're training, we're literally just reprogramming our body to do what it wants. And this is why it takes so long. Reprogramming does not happen instantaneous. You've got years and generations. Your DNA literally has this stuff built into you as your self-defense mechanisms. And you're literally fighting against all that time, all that history of survival that we did to create something a little bit better. Okay. So when we talk about our break falls, if you haven't gone over our break falls yet, go and take a look. You learn the front fall and the basics. Okay, but you're literally trying to build up to reprogram, so you're no longer posting up. Now you're concentrating on it. Now, if you practice it long enough, you practice it over and over and over again, you stop thinking about it because you have all the intricacies of the technique down. That's when the reprogram really starts to happen, and that's when we start training our reflex response. Okay, a reflex response. Okay, this is the fun part with your training, especially in our DRS system. We're literally responding to a stimuli. And if we have to think about, oh, I got to break fall, or I got to move this way, then our reflex response isn't quite there. Now, there's ways to practice this. Okay, this is usually done with a partner. We'll talk about partner etiquette in just a minute. But your idea from this is try to think less. Yes, being mindful on one side, being able to think less on the other. You cannot have one without the other. Some systems like teach you all about letting go. Other systems teach you all about being mindful. You cannot know one without the other. So practice both. We do mindful type of exercises. All right, we do all this training to be mindful with stuff, so then we can really understand what it's like to let go. We learn to let go, so then we can really understand what it means to be mindful. But you can't really have an appreciation for both or for either one of them unless you do go to this extreme. You do go to this extreme. The further out you take that, the more you're going to understand. Okay, so active reprogramming has to do with that mindful side, and then getting to the empty side, the void side from that. So being able to practice so much that we don't have to think about it. But we have to think about it. Bruce Lee had a really good quote when you first start training: a punch is just a punch, a kick is just a kick. Okay, but then as you train, you find out, oh, a punch is more than a punch, a kick is more than a kick. You know, it's weight distribution, it's body torque, okay, it's angles, okay, it's control, it's peripheral control, it's all these little things that you got on there. But as you train it more and more, you come full circle back around, and then what? A punch is a punch, a kick is just a kick. So it's all you're doing. That's what active reprogramming is. We're mindfully breaking down technique, optimizing it for ourselves, training it, drilling it over and over and over again, so we don't have to think about the technique. So then all of a sudden, it just manifests itself as you throw whatever it is that you're throwing. Okay, so that is what active reprogramming is. That being said, I want to just say this real quick. Enjoy the process. Okay, nobody can go and just actively reprogram, like I said, in an instant and just automatically a master of it. That's not how it works. That is completely different on what active reprogramming is. That being said, enjoy the process. Just enjoy every little part of it. If you mess up, so what? That's part of the programming. We're figuring out the programming language on how to optimize it. All right, you're going to make mistakes. That's part of it. Okay, if you make zero mistakes, you learn zero lessons. All right, so be open to making mistakes. Be open to failure, because failure is where all the growth happens. All right, know that you've got other paradigms. That's what your programming is. It's paradigms. Paradigms are built into us. We're trying to shift the paradigms. When we talk about shifting paradigms, we're trying to shift the paradigms. The paradigm is going to be our programming, the new programming that we want to happen. And this goes for anything, not just for physical training. We want to do mental training. We want to do emotional training. Same sort of idea. We can change the response that we have by continuously, mindfully putting these things in place till we get to that point of void, of emptiness, where I don't have to think about it. It just happens and manifests because I've done all my groundwork for it. So really, really enjoy the process. Don't try to jump to the end. You cannot skip to the end. You have to put in the work. Okay. All right. Last thing I want to go over for this is your partner etiquette. Okay. I like the idea that jiu-jitsu has, where they use vernacular, where they're going to roll, they're going to play. They don't fight, they don't spar, they don't defend. Okay, it's more playful. Now, if you need that sort of vocabulary, great, use it. All right, I don't particularly, because again, I think that we could be a little more focused for that. I think that we have much more brain power to overcome different obstacles, and I like the idea of adding pressure so we can respond to pressure different. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, play or roll. I actually do like that, even though it's not my preferred method. Okay, because everyone learns differently. See if changing a language helps you out for that. But that being said, when it comes to partners, okay, your partners have got to be there to help you. Okay, they have to know that they're not there to get you. They're not there to beat you. All right. So whenever you do partner exercises, it's got to be a communication between each other. You're literally there to help build someone up. That being said, if you're holding mitts or if you're applying a technique, you're not there to destroy them. Don't destroy them. Okay, especially if they're just learning. They're just starting out. You don't want to discourage them, because one, if you just take them out in one shot, great. Now you don't have a training partner. All right. But you do want to try to get to a point where it becomes more realistic. Okay, don't just go straight to realistic. All right, throw me a punch. Ah! There you go. Everybody knows why didn't it work. Okay, start it out slow. Remember, it's that groundwork that we're doing. We're building up that mindfulness. I can't think about what needs to be done, about what movements I need to do, how I'm supposed to move, if I'm just going right back to my original paradigm, my original programming of no, right? My fight, flight, or freeze, whichever one it happens to be, and that's what the program does. Okay, so help your training partner out. Make sure you guys communicate with with each other. It's like, hey, today I'm just working this is technical day. I really want to hammer down how it is I just utilize this block to where I can meet that punch or meet that strike right here and just twist right into it. That's a mindful practice. I'm reprogramming myself so when it happens in real life, in a real scenario, I can get it. But I don't want to just stay purely technical. That's where the reflex response comes in. All right, I got it down. I think I got the timing down. I got the technique down. Now you start adding in those attributes. You're starting to make it more realistic. Don't just be like, here's a punch, here's a punch, here's a punch, break the rhythm. Okay, most people are going to have broken rhythm anyway. And I've said this before and in other videos, but the only reason to learn rhythm is to break it. So learn rhythm, practice rhythmically, but then eventually you start changing the dynamic for that reflex response by breaking the rhythm so you can really test out the limits of it. And then again, enjoy the process. You're gonna mess up. It's gonna get to a point like, why didn't it work? It's because you're not quite there finishing your reprogramming yet. Again, this is why it takes a lot of time. Be patient with it. Enjoy the process. All right? Trust the process. Enjoy the process, because that's what makes the training fun. All right? So make sure that whatever partner that you're working with knows, like, hey, we're not here to get each other, unless that's the focus of the game. In the higher levels, we start doing things like we actually beat your partner to the punch. I'll do shoulder tag. I'm really just trying to tag you before you tag me. I'm trying to defend before you can tag me, right? Hit and don't get hit, and that's it. And then we're not destroying each other. It's shoulder tag, just tapping the shoulder. So there are games. There's other different ways you can do it, but it's that mutual understanding that, hey, we're working with each other to make each other strong. And again, your level is your level. Your partner's level may not be your level. So understand that when you switch, you may want your partner to go harder. Communicate that, hey, I want you to go a little bit harder. Okay, I'm not at this level where I'm just slow. I need to go a little bit faster. I want to train my reflex response. Bam. Your partner might not be at reflex response. They might be all the way back at peripheral control. They don't have the timing. Their hands are all over the place. They don't have the control. So you got to be aware of that. Like, hey, let's step it down. Let's take this drill, step it down. Let's go back to this. Maybe you have to go back to a DRS1, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, when you learn new moves, everything starts with the DRS1, and then it starts stepping up. Okay, so take the time, learn how to master yourself, learn how you learn. You can streamline the process going all the way through, but you have to take the time to actively reprogram. Again, you can't just reprogram yourself in one day. It doesn't happen that way. You're going 2 days a week. It's going to take a long time. Take more time to practice. All right, practice at home. Go to your significant other. Go to your friend like, hey, can you help me out real quick? I don't want to just throw a punch. I just want to slow punch, like 10% speed, 10% power. Don't purposely miss. That's another thing. Don't purposely miss. Because, again, the goal is to get a little more realistic. Okay, I can go in, and literally just stop right before, and you can literally to somebody, and you're like, well, you didn't block. And not hurt them. I'm not trying to destroy them. Just right from there. Still follow the same path. Still was on target. Still almost realistic. Because again, the realism is just speeding it up from there and having that correct response. So continue practicing. Active reprogramming. It's a huge thing for self-defense. All right, we do this specifically in our self-defense module because what's the most important response in any sort of self-defense? It's the first one, your reflex. Reflex is dealing with an incoming attack, and we don't want to think about that. I want to think like, oh, I think he's going for a punch. I think I'm supposed to do technique number 1. Okay, all of a sudden you get knocked out because your reflex response wasn't there. So continue drilling, continue that active reprogramming, enjoy the process, trust the process, enjoy the process. Make sure that if you are in those partner drills, your partners know that you're there to help each other out, and your partners are going to be at different levels. They might want you to slow it down, okay? And ask them, hey, do you want me to go slower? Do you want me to go harder? Do you want me to stay at the same level? Just ask them. If they don't know to ask. They're just going to sit there and be like, I guess I'll just get destroyed today. Ask them. Be a good pad holder. Be a good partner, okay? We call that be a good uke. Uke is the person that is receiving the technique, okay? So hopefully that clears a lot of stuff up for active reprogramming. Again, this is our focus on our self-defense module. So let's see where you guys are at. Keep drilling, practice it. The more practice you do, the more programming you get inside, the easier it becomes to get to that reflex response in those higher levels. If you haven't checked out our DRS, the DRS ranking system, please check it out. DRS ranking system, drill ranking system. If you haven't checked out DRS, go and check out that video from there. It is a long one. I'm going to try to make an abridged version for you guys. That way it's going to be a lot faster for you to learn. But there's a lot of thought that went into each of those so we can start leveling up or leveling down or stepping up and stepping down our drills so you can find wherever you're at and maybe wherever your partner's at. Okay? All right, guys. Happy training. Train hard.